And hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good Saturday morning. As you can tell, I'm neither Case nor Paulie. Case is out and about today with some other things going on, so this is Jared taking the lead. However, we do have four folks on air today. Yes, you heard that correctly. We do have four, even though Case is not one of them. So here along with me, we've got Jeff manning all of our engineering systems right now. I got Daryl on board, as well as we are welcoming back Paulie. So, Paul, while we've got you, how are you feeling? What's new with you?
Hey, first of all, thanks, Jared. It's really great to be back with you guys again after being away for a while. I've been given sufficient clearance by my doctor crew that I could jump back in and join you guys for lively discussion and debate. Obviously, they'd never listened to me before because I've never been, guilty of any of that. But no, it's just great to be back with y'all and hear your voices. And we're taking it one day at a time. Each day is a little better. And pretty soon I'll be so damn perfect, no one will be able to stand me, right?
So, is your cardiologist allowing you to watch some of these women's basketball games? I know they
I,
can be a little heart pumping at times.
it's not so much my cardiologist as my conscience. I watch some of this stuff. I'm like, well, what the hell is that? Is this us? And then I I was reading this thing online trying to get prepared for the show about Olivia Cochran supposedly having it out with the entire Syracuse team at the end of the game, and I didn't see any of that, so I don't know.
I
But
didn't see it, but my money's on O.
yeah, I would say that if anybody tried to take on Olivia Cochran, they were either insane or they were a 4-year-old. So no, it's been a long step, but I'm one step back closer, and just glad to hear your all's voices. And I got to say thank you to y'all for jumping in there and just kind of saying, okay, this is our side too. We're going to do this, and I've enjoyed reading the things that you all put out, and I'm just really proud to have you on the team, as they say.
We are glad to have you back joining us little by little where your doctor allows. So, we won't push too much for you. We do have a few other folks here on the show as well. Someone who's been seeing probably more than she wants to of me lately with all these basketball games is Daryl. Daryl, what's new with you?
Oh, come on, Jared. You know I love catching up with you, and it's been fun keeping the ship afloat. You're my contact and keep me straight and keep everybody on schedule and make sure they're covered to get out the game. So I really appreciate everything you've been doing to keep us floating, and it's been fun. We've been keeping the cards covered and getting some wins, so it's been pretty good. So, Polly, as long as you're not too stressed out watching the team, I say keep watching because it's been pretty fun, and this team is really starting to come together at the right time, and it's getting exciting. And I think that the team feels it. I think fans can see it, and I think maybe national media might be underestimating this team, which is fine. So as long as the Cards keep winning, and we're all pretty happy. And having Paul back on is quite the surprise this morning. I'm very happy. I got a big smile on my face.
Oh,
Yeah. And Daryl, we got to see Thomas at basketball not too long ago, and word on the street is we might be seeing him again here this Thursday for the Notre Dame game.
Nice.
Yep, we've spoiled him, and I don't think he can ever go back.
mm,
So
yeah. Once you've
he's
turned that
just
corner, it's tough.
Yeah,
Thomas is getting to see how big and bad you are with the UofL athletics, isn't he?
I know he needed a gentle reminder of how cool I was. Sometimes you gotta keep them straight.
I am just sure that he was somewhat humbled at your ominous presence down there, Daryl. People just tend to flock to you, and like, who's that guy sitting with you there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just my big question, I guess, and although it's a trivial and silly one, is who continued the tradition of the cookie to the ex-mayor?
Oh, I got you covered.
Oh yeah, all right then. Well, I got to take care of my boy, okay?
Yeah,
Even in Yeah.
At the halftime, that's my one job. I got to check that box, and then the rest of the game is smooth sailing.
The
But
only thing we asked you to do is get a cookie to the ex-mayor. That's all. No, I'm glad
Yeah, it's
you.
always a treat when we run into Jerry and Madeline Abramson there sitting courtside at the women's basketball games.
And if anybody's listening out there, besides the normals, if you're one of the few, many I guess that have sent me get well wishes or congratulations wishes or we miss you wishes, I'll just do a public thank you on all those because man, I heard some people I hadn't heard from in a long time. So either I owe them money and forgot about it, or they're actually glad to see me again, right?
So, am I on the list of people you owe money?
I
yeah, you got a lot of outstanding debt out there.
I was just wondering. I know Jared and I had spent some time together, Daryl, but I didn't realize I'd borrowed that much money from him. And as far as Jeff goes, I was able to finance a trip for him across the country. So, well, there you go. But no, it's great to be back, guys, and go. Hey, we got a team that's been doing some fantastic things, right? We'll get into that a little bit later on, but
Yeah.
I think Jeff is going to jump in and boldly go where he's never gone before. No, he's going to take the
Yeah.
scheduling and Twitter information on.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been responsible for this. I've had, Case and Jared for the most part have been taking it on. So, but the site's a little different than it used to be. So bear with me. But we got New Mexico. The track and field is split. They're between New Mexico Collegiate Classic and Albuquerque. Just be sure to make the left turn there. And then some of them are up in South Bend, Indiana, and Notre Dame at the Mayo Invitational. It's MEYO, not MAYO. But I have no idea where that name comes from. But golf is at the Collegiate Collegiate Invitational at Guadalajara Country Club in Mexico. So cool trip for them. Then swim and dive starts right after we get off today at they bring in University of Cincinnati in a meet. Ralph Wright Auditorium, and catch this one on NCC Network. Actually, if you want to see how a swim meet goes down, I'll have some coverage on it. Should be kind of interesting. And then men's basketball plays a game against Florida State this evening. Moving on to women's basketball's on the road. This is a biggie, guys. I know we all know this, but man, NC State, number 5 currently in the rankings. We'll see what they end up with on Monday. But it's on ESPN2. It's a 7 p.m. game Monday night in Raleigh. So, always tough to play in their gyms. Reynolds, right, is the name of it?
Yeah, Jeff, my experiences in Reynolds have been 2, and I can tell you that they were both eye openers and ones that I'll never forget. It's just a insane atmosphere for women's college basketball.
Yeah. They put on a good show, and Miss Wolf down there, and I'm sure is glad you're back as well. So
well, that was part of the visit too. I wasn't going to bring that up, but no,
Paul, you've been down there smooching with Miss Wolf in your spare time?
It's weird when you have like maybe 20 people ask you up and say, "You drove all the way down for Louisville for this game?" And I started trying to think of alternative answers I could give them. They're like, "No, the aliens dropped me off in actually Winston-Salem, and I transported myself here." Or,
that's right.
Nah, I was on the team back in 2009. They cut me, so I just decided to hang around. I don't know. Sex change, all that stuff. Oh, they are very much into people coming to their place to see them play.
Yeah,
that are not their fans.
I will say every time I've been done a road trip for any athletics, volleyball, basketball, whatever, when you're outside of those, the big mainstream sports, the hosting. The people hosting are almost always very gracious and glad to have you and welcome you in there. So, if you ever want to make a road trip, it's kind of fun. So,
and just to sway you a little further on, that was the famous. My last North Carolina state trip was the famous Sam Purcell out of Ink trip.
Yeah.
where Sam Purcell came running up to me during the first half of the game over in
You
Media
got a pen?
Row,
Yeah.
screaming at me and saying, "I need an ink pen! I need an ink pen!" He tossed his ink pen down in front of me, so I just okay handed him my ink pen, and then uh, actually got his working later on, but didn't bother to tell him.
Yeah,
And so it's like,
bootstrapped him onto some
yeah,
better things. Like I think we may talk a little
it
bit
helped
about that
prepare him
later.
for a head coaching job, I'd like to think. But
That's right.
a couple weeks later, I decided to play a gag gift on him, and I collected every dry ink pen that I could find around the house, and then stopped by his office and said, "Hey, Coach, I just wanted to give you a stash of these in case you ever."
That's awesome.
He was smiling and said thank you and everything. Then he realized that none of them worked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So ESPN2, 7 p.m. Monday night, big game. Definitely check that out. Men back in action on Wednesday against Syracuse, up in Syracuse. Women come back home in this just really, really tough stretch of games to kind of close out the season. Notre Dame comes in, they're number 14 or number 16, depending upon which poll you look at. Right now, obviously, we'll get a new update before that game happens. 6 p.m. game, a little bit of an oddball time. It is on ESPN, the main flagship station, so that's pretty cool. At the KFCM Center on Thursday. Friday, we've got a bunch of stuff on Friday. Track and field's up in Boston College for the Eagle Invite. Softball starts out their season. Is that right?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
you're spot on. Not
Holy
here,
cow!
but
No,
there's nowhere it's
yeah,
warm.
no, they don't open up in Elmer for like a month. But yeah, LIU in Fort Myers, Florida for softball, 10 a.m. Friday morning. So that's exciting to see that. Women's tennis, noon start at Marshall University, Huntington, West Virginia. Softball plays another one in the afternoon, 2:30. Georgetown University. It's obviously these early season, round robin tournament type things. This is what softball will be involved in down there. Georgetown University, the Hoyas, be down there. That's at 2:30, and that's most of Friday, and then I think Saturday morning. Track and field again. Not tennis. Nope, nothing else on Saturday morning. So that's your week. There's your scheduling. It's been a while. Good to kind of brush up those skills in it. So
It sounds like it's going to be a busy schedule, so especially with our spring sports finally starting up, and I know a lot of us have really been excited to see some of those kick in.
Start of softball, man. They always put a bunch of stuff on the schedule because they'll play, particularly early season, they'll play two games a day. So it really kind of piles up the schedule quite a bit.
Yeah, and then we won't see our friend in SID, Lori, for quite some time as she'll follow softball down to Florida and all the other
trek that they
nice places they go to.
Yeah,
for the team to come back.
Do a couple spots in Florida, and then they'll be in Conway, South Carolina, the home of Central or Coastal Carolina. But if you've ever been to the town Conway, I recommend you never go again because I never will. But they do have a campus there.
Yeah.
Everybody else likes to stay at Myrtle Beach and areas on the coast. I was a dumbass and decided to stay in Conway in one of the two hotels they have there. I stayed in the Pride of Conway, the Red Roof Inn.
Yeah. Yeah. So this coming weekend is I'm looking at the softball schedule specifically now. The FGCU Kickoff Classic. So Florida Gulf Coast will be the host of that. They play FGCU twice, play Georgetown twice, they play LIU once. So, and then a game just kind of on its own in Miami. Then they go to Boca Raton, Florida. Then they're in Conway, and then their home opener. Just to look ahead a fair bit, the home opener is against Western Kentucky on February 27th. So not quite a month, but close to a month on the road before they open up at Ulmer, that's typical of what they do because they're playing outside. They want to go south and be in warmer weather for a little while. So
I don't blame them on
no,
that
I
one.
don't know either.
But yeah, while we're on the kind of the topic of softball, just give a couple minutes to them. A lot of uh, key players are gone from the program, whether they've graduated or transferred. With Taylor Roby being a big one coming to mind, Hannah File, Corbiota, Sarah Gordon. So, what are we kind of hoping to see, especially early on with this softball team with all these new faces we've got?
I think one of the
If you
things
want to
that you'll
follow Taylor Roby, she's gonna be playing for the USSSA Pride in pro softball. So I did see where she signed with them, but yeah, unfortunately we don't have her services anywhere. But go ahead, Paula. You think we're getting ready to jump in?
I think one of the things that Holly April was kind of trying to work on is building a younger pitching staff, and certainly got a very nice uh, catch, if you'll call it, or get, if you'll get it, when she got Jenny Gray out of Louisville Ballard to join the team. This girl is all world, okay, and of course we happen to have her here playing locally. Probably could have gone to any of number of top 25 schools anywhere, but decided to stay here and pitch. And that's good because that's a sturdy branch, Jeff, that allows smaller branches to develop out of that. Well, I'd like to play with her. I played against her and she was really good. Or I caught for her for 2 years. I wonder if I could be a sub on this team. Or uh, having local talent stay home, as you all can well attest.
Yeah,
is
it
great for our
absolutely.
program.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Obviously we've seen that happen. We started to see that happen in volleyball. To 11, 12 years ago when we got Ann Cordes as a coach, she put a big emphasis on recruiting locally, and Danny Busman Kelly has continued that, and we've seen a lot of success of the program is I think partly because of that. Certainly a lot of attention from the hometown crowd. So to start to see that a little bit more of softball is really exciting to me, to say, okay, we got a local. We've had some local folks. Taylor Roby's been around. It was regional, some stuff like that. But to get some folks out of Louisville directly in the Louisville metro area is exciting, and I hope we'll see more of that to come. Should be. I think it would be good for the program in the long term. So I'm hopeful and excited.
Brooke Gray is she's going to be one of 6 pitchers we've got on the roster this upcoming season. She's the only left-handed pitcher we have. We've seen some success out of left-handed pitchers before, but she just joined the likes of Alyssa Zabala, who we'll probably see take some of the ace duties. Sambu, who's back, a lot of experience. We have a healthy Gabby Holloway there, and then a couple other new faces with the pitching staff. Lindsay Mullen and Izzy Harrison are coming in to join this program. Daryl, I know you've got a pretty strong softball background. What are you thinking with this team this year?
Yeah, I was gonna mirror what you guys are saying about pitching, but I'll throw something else out there because obviously pitching is going to be super important. Um, what I want to see is just the ability for this program to get those series wins. They had that big one against Florida State a few years ago, and I feel like they've been towing the line of getting some solid series wins. So I want to see this team get the big wins in a series like, say, Clemson or Duke, or just at least a couple. They're getting to the point where they're, in the running to get an NCAA tournament, play in that, but it's just we're too far into Coach Holly April's career to not start getting those wins. And if they're not happening, then eventually we'll have to move on, because that's what's going to take. They're getting the wins here and there, like one win out of a series, but let's take the whole series and get good ones to get solid postseason seeding. And yeah.
We got to see them progress a little bit last season. They made the NCAA regional. Unfortunately, didn't make it out of it, but it does seem like they've been able to progress a little bit under Holly April already.
Yeah,
I think you've got to also hope that the team can return to what I consider the heyday of Louisville softball back when Sandy Pearsall was still the head coach, and we had so many fantastic players that were participating in the AAC and then other leagues where we were dominant, and opponents really feared coming in here and facing the powerhouses that we had. And Jared, you can remember the names as well as I can, and sitting up there and watching those girls play and just thinking to ourselves, is it ever going to get any better than this? Because we had some incredible teams underneath our good friend Sandy Pearsall.
Oh yeah, there was that string there in the early 2000s. Some back-to-back titles, hosting some regionals here at Ulmer, helped pave the way for kind of the stadium and facilities we have now, which will be growing at some point as the funding comes in with our plans for some expansions there. But you'll be able to catch softball later this week. Plenty of games going on with them, so make sure you tune in if we can locate some live streams to catch those on. If not, we'll at least share those live stat links. Another spring sports team that's about to start up as well this coming Friday is our Louisville lacrosse team. They're going to head out to Colorado with the match at Denver on Friday, and they'll stay out there for a match at Colorado on Sunday.
The schedule.
Yeah, it's not on the main schedule for some reason, the composite, but they do have it out there under the specific lacrosse schedule.
That's what you get when you have me do it. I'm out of practice. I forget.
They're out there on the 9th and the 11th that I can tell. If you'll go to Cardinal Couple, you'll see that on the right-hand side of the site. But certainly a Denver team, I think that it's had top Final Four mention for this year, and a very strong Colorado team. So Teeter obviously not easing in or backing into the lacrosse schedule. He's jumping both feet out and saying, Geronimo, I'd love to see them go 2-0 out there, but I think it's more likely we'll be happy if we come back with a win.
Yeah, Case got the chance to go out there to the Spring Sports Media Day and talk to Teeter and a couple of players for a little bit. And they talked a little bit about just the regular scheduling of Denver and Colorado to open up the season and how this is a good way to get a feel for where this Louisville program may be for the season compared to some teams they see every year. It's always tough battle against both Denver and Colorado teams that tend to be ranked. We did see the Cards go 1-1 last year against these two teams. Daryl, I know lacrosse isn't one of your strong suits, but while you're there, what are you hoping to see with this lacrosse team in the early season?
Yeah, just some energy and just playing off of last season and just moving ahead. Same thing with softball. Just got to get another notch in the belt for the program, for the coach, and just the future program or future that wants to join this program. They look at what this program has done overall and they decide if they want to join it. So just keep moving in the lacrosse world and just improving on previous seasons.
Jeff, this team we see has been so close on the cusp of getting some big wins and having some major seasons, but it seems like they tend to be on the wrong end of a lot of these games when the final buzzer hits. What do we need to see this year to help them switch that around?
Yeah, it's been it's been a tough to watch a little bit. Daryl talked about we need to see some progress, or we may need to move on from a coach or something. I think Teeter's another one that's in that similar sort of situation here. And we look at each year, we look at offense versus defense and the ability to produce that. We've certainly had we've had some pretty good defense in the past year, but I think we need to see a little bit more offensive production out of the team, and hopefully that will result in some more success. The defense looked pretty solid, I think, last year from what I recall. So hopefully a little bit more on the offensive production side will help out.
Paul, this is a team and a program I know you followed a lot. There's some big changes with the rule changes going on this year, especially towards the midfield. We're going to see more fouls called, more players sitting in the 1 and 2 minute penalties. We've seen some strong players such as Nicole Peroni who are physical players. What adjustments are we going to need to see out of these players to stay out of foul trouble and stay out on the field?
I think maybe, Jared, one of the biggest adjustments this team is going to have to make is no longer having Kay Morset on the sidelines. Kay was a very integral and very strong part of the Louisville lacrosse coaching camaraderie there, and then suddenly she was gone, and there was really no explanation, no firing, no anything came out about this. Just one day she was simply not being listed as an assistant coach. Why? There are reasons. I have, hate to say this, but I've kind of been sworn to secrecy where I cannot discuss these. And so I'm not going to. It's a new era as far as Kay, who was one of the best players to ever step on the lacrosse field for Louisville under Kelly Young, is no longer with the program. Scott Teeter has a new assistant, or actually, she's in her third year, I think, now, and they are rebuilding the team from there. So, a lot of these players who came in under Kay and learned their game through Kay and were inspired by Kay are kind of looking at each other and saying, okay, time for us to get behind a new coach, I think. Uh, a bigger move than a lot of people want to give it, Jared.
Yeah, the assistant coaches are just as important as the head coaches are. We've seen that uh, most recently with women's basketball and the loss of coaches such as Sam Williams and then Sam Purcell, who's now down at Mississippi State with a big win the other day against LSU. But
Yeah,
just the
that's the
crucial importance of
big
having
time
those
one.
assistant coaches can make or break a team just as much as a head coach.
Such a great thing, dude. You mentioned there for Sam, who basically came in there and said, "I'm not going to believe all the hype about Kim Mulkey." And gee, I remember when Haley Van Lith played for me, and I think we got a plan for her. And let's see what Angel Reese can do with this and that. And they walked out of there with a win, and it left quite a few question marks and some controversial issues within the LSU Tigers camp kids after that loss.
Yeah, speaking of women's basketball, our Louisville Cardinals are fresh off of a pair of victories at the KFCM Center with a big one against Syracuse. But we're going to go back to Sunday's game where they defeated Pitt 77-58. Daryl was there with on Media Row with me. We had Jeff up in the stands. Uh, it's nice to get a big time win and a season sweep against a team like Pitt, isn't it?
Yeah, always good to get any win in the ACC if you ask Coach Walls. But coming back to some conversations we've had this so far about this year, just January being as maybe not as competitive as the national talking heads would say for U of L, and February being all eyes on that month to really determine what this team can do. Um, this I think Coach Walls kind of played it perfectly in January, getting some solid wins, getting an idea of what he has on his bench and how to play them, and what works and what doesn't. I think we were able to get some good minutes for some more bench players, which we didn't really use a lot in that game Thursday against Syracuse, which we'll talk more about. But just these games over the month of January, we're really trying to get some more playing time for the rest of the squad because they're going to be crucial in the postseason. And we're just getting to know each other better. I mean, how many? I can't think. I should have started keeping track. How many different lineups are out there on the floor? Um, it's kind of fun to watch. You see different players step up and be a leader. One that stands out to me, and we'll talk about it more, is Nyla Harris is just becoming quite the leader in her second season with U of L. She's vocal on the court. We sit down there by the band and the cheerleaders, and I can hear her down on defense in front of Coach Walls and Louisville's bench. I can hear her um, talking to her team and talking to the offense. That she's talking to the other team too. She said it on Thursday night that she is trying to confuse the opponent, and I think it's working. I think that her stepping up is huge for U of L. She had a great night on Thursday, but we're just able to see different players have a night and go off and they trust each other and they're having fun and it's just so fun to watch right now. So big month for February. I'm very proud of what they did in January against these bottom of the ACC squads. But like Coach Walls has said, everybody in this league is competitive. I mean, I think against Pitt, both times they gave U of L a solid 3 quarters.
Mhm.
And then there was like 1 quarter where it was just the difference maker, and U of L pulled away from them and made the score look a lot more lopsided than it was while it was live. In both of those games against Pitt, and Walls is very complimentary of Pitt Panthers team.
Yeah, Pitt was a this game. Louisville held a 10-point lead after the first quarter. Really was hammering down on defense, but then Pitt turned around and won that second quarter to go into halftime a little bit closer than we wanted. But it seemed like U of L came out in the second half and offensively was really able to put the Panthers away. Jeff, from your view up in the stands, you get a much different view and angle than what Daryl and I get on the court. What were you seeing out of this game?
What I'm seeing is that this team is really coming together. They're playing smarter ball. They're playing. They're getting to play together as a team more. We've talked about that a little bit. That they're starting to know each other a little more. I think is a big part of what we're seeing, and there's still some thinkos. There's still some just like, what were you doing there? Who were you throwing that to? Occasionally, but seeing a lot less of that, where they, as a result of, they know each other more. They play with each other more. They know their tendencies. They have a better idea of when someone's going to make a cut versus when they're going to stay and wait for the pass. Things like that, that we're seeing them do better. Obviously players still, they miss shots occasionally. They do stuff like that. Those things happen. It's part of the game. But I think that you're really starting to see that team play that has been part of the hallmark of Wall's ball start to come together. It's a team that really seems to really enjoy each other's presence, which is also a big bonus and helpful. I'm excited to see what comes out of the latter part of this season and the postseason. We've talked throughout all of this about all the question marks and all the uncertainty. They're starting to be answered, but we're also pushing into a really critical part of the year where the questions become critical to answer, not just nice to know. So, we're starting to see the answers, and the answers are looking pretty good, but we'll see how they really stack up against this stretch to come.
Paul, this Louisville team followed that win up with a pretty tough battle against a ranked Syracuse team. That's the start of a pretty heavy, rough core stretch that the Cards are going to have here to open up February. Just from what you were able to see on TV at home, that win against Syracuse, what was working well for the Cards in that one?
I think one of the things about that Syracuse win is it kind of mirrored the factor of this team in the eyes of opposing coaches when they look at Louisville and they say, we know not where the pain is coming from, but the pain is coming.
Yeah.
Jada Curry, who had been so fantastic in 4 games previous to Syracuse, basically doesn't do much. But guess what? Someone else stepped up in the terms of maybe Anita Ricard's, players that stepped in and said, hey, you know what? We are going to be this team, and if she isn't on, it's my turn to be on. And I think the key is the recognition, Jared. If the other 4 players or 3 players on the team can recognize who the hot hand is and make sure that the hot hand gets fed and make sure that the hot hand gets a chance to extend the hot hand, Walls is playing that perfectly. And I'm wondering whether sometimes he is just sitting there scratching his head going, okay,
Yeah.
who's up now?
Yeah. And I think we've seen even some of the questions and post game stuff has been, and media availability has been like, what's it like to coach a team where you never know who's going to be the big player on any given night? Yeah,
And that's the beauty of it. And I can envision, opposing coaches that up until 3 a.m. the night before the game tearing their hair out, going, "Yeah, but what if she gets open down here?
yeah.
What
How
if
do you
we
game
cover her
plan
up?"
for that?
Yeah, here's game plan L, y'all. This is in case this, and this happens. Yeah, not where the pain is coming from. I think one of the beautiful things about this too is that when you take like we've done so many different players who were all new to the program, with the exception, of course, obviously of Cochran and Russell to a certain extent, and bring them all together and to see them kind of gel this quickly and being able to put up with controversy like up at Syracuse. Okay, let's take the Syracuse game, Jared. You brought it up, and it's certainly a good one to look at and see how things develop for the Cards in that one, because Louisville came out. You know, uh, this was a Cardinal team that came out in the first quarter, and you all were there, and I was watching it on TV. It just wasn't a very sharp team yet
Yeah.
in this game. The Cards were basically down 21-14, remember, at the end of that first quarter, and Syracuse had missed their last 6 shots of the quarter.
Oh, their free throw shooting was atrocious through the whole game, but
Yeah.
particularly in the early part.
So can you imagine what that score might have been if Syracuse had been able to basically do the basic of put the ball in the basket? And even with that, I think they were 8 for 9 early and still shot over 50%, having missed that many shots near the end. But in the second half, the Louisville team just basically got itself together. They started finding the right person open underneath. They were making good passes. They really impressed me, guys, by going to the boards strong, and also started concentrating on shutting down the Syracuse superstar Daisha Fair, who is certainly maybe one of the most underheralded, but one of the most talented players in college women's basketball these days. I had to laugh about somebody talking about her being at Syracuse for 5 years, and I had to just jump out and say, no, wrong. She's only been there 2 years. She was at Buffalo. Do you not forget the numbers she was putting up at Buffalo? She was the leader of the score. Anyway, she came over to Syracuse along with her head coach, Fleets, like a Jack, who I'm sure there's a story there too about the post game coolness between those two and Walls.
Was that when she transferred from Buffalo? Was that when Becky Burke started up there?
I believe Burke came in
Okay.
and replaced coach
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
like Jack. She replaced her because of course Q had been the head coach at Syracuse and was unceremoniously kind of handed his bow tie and then thrown out the door and said, "You know what? You're no longer our coach. Bye.
Yeah.
We'll find somebody." And
for reasons, yeah.
yeah, I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but let's not forget that Luggage Jack was a heck of a ball player at Syracuse as well before she took over the head coaching job there.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be kind of akin to if one of our superstars like Dana Evans were to come back and replace Walls as head coach. Everyone would go, God, she was a great player here. Look at her now. She's the head coach of the program. The thing is, I'm not really sure, Jeff, how important is women's basketball in Syracuse?
Yeah, some of these places you wonder how much attention they really get. Obviously we got to remember we've got it incredibly good here at Louisville with so many of our women's programs, particularly basketball, getting so much attention. I mean, our women are outdrawing the men right now, which there's commentaries on both sides of that. But but seriously, that's not something that's unheard of.
And I've got to ask Daryl this at the end of the first quarter. What was going through your thought process when you were sitting there and seeing us down by 7 and it could have been a lot worse?
Yeah, so this one I thought, well, I think for this team it does take a minute for the squad to get their feet under them and figure out what kind of pace the game is going to play out. And like we've said before, and we realize that most programs are going to come in here and give it their best shot. Louisville will have a target on its back majority of the time. And when they started the game, I think it was the first couple possessions, Syracuse had 2 turnovers. The Cards were able to score first. It was 4-0, and then things turned around, and all of a sudden Syracuse is shooting like 90%. They were like 8 of 9. They were not missing. So no time to freak out. There's still plenty of time left in the game. And then, like you said, that they cooled off and closed the quarter on missing like 6 shots in a row. But if let's see, 6-7 point difference is not intimidating for this squad. I think that they, like I said, have the ability to just get their feet under them and know that they can just chip away. They just need to get a couple stops, get the ball through the hoop a couple times. And that's what happened in that second quarter. And it was just full blown revenge mode. And they doubled up 26-13 on them and got the lead going into the half. They knew it wasn't going to be easy. Syracuse is a good team. They're at the top of the ACC, and they're just as, they deserve to be there just as much as anyone. So Walls was very complimentary of the guards on Syracuse and thinks that they are one of the best in the conference. So just had to find a way to keep her from going off. And I think that they did an incredible job. She played all 40 minutes and she had to earn every one of her 28 points. It was not an easy win for for the Cards, and it was not an easy night for Fair either. So they couldn't win with her going off like she did. She was 10 of 23. Got to the free throw line a good amount of times, was not very productive there, 4 of 9. The Orange overall were just not good at the free throw line. So they have their own problems. The Cards did not have a great night shooting from 3-point range. They went 3 of 13, so they had to do all their work in the paint. And like you mentioned about Nina Ricards, she didn't, she did not fill the stat sheet like others did, but she was crucial in the win. I think that she was able to find a couple big buckets when they really needed them, and that jumper from her is pretty consistent. I feel pretty confident when she finds her spot, because she can stop on a dime and just nail it, and it's really fun to watch this team.
Jeff, I know you're a big fan of defense. Jeff Walls prides himself in his teams having one of the best defenses in the country year after year. It seems like this team hasn't quite figured that out. Do you think this team is going to figure out the defensive scheme before the season's over, and what do they need to do to help accomplish that?
Yeah, I think they're getting there. Walls is good. He's an incredible X's and O's coach. He can adapt a little bit. Not more, no. He can adapt more than a little bit to what the team is capable of. I'm sure he's pushing them. He loves to play defense. It's one of the reasons I love being a Louisville fan, is because of the strong defense we play. But he's going to dial it up or down a little bit based upon what the team's capable of. And as they get more capable and understanding of the way he wants to do things, he's going to continue to dial that up throughout the year. We've seen him even in postseason games throwing out new plays for the team to play just on the fly, like draw it up on the marker board on the sideline and say, okay, go do it. And I know he loves it when he has a team that's capable of doing that. Those are mostly on offense, but defensively, this defensive schemes is a little bit as well. It's, you go up against a team and maybe what you had practiced wasn't working, so you want to change the way you approach it a little bit. So you throw a new defensive scheme in there, and maybe they've never actually practiced that scheme. But if you can tell each person what their responsibility is, and they're able to do that, then obviously they've got a lot of flexibility of what they can do in a game. So. It's pretty cool. I know Walls loves to try to be able to do that with his teams. This team's getting there. We're still seeing some lapses, but we're seeing them continue to improve, like we said all season, which is what you want to see. So, peak in the postseason. That's what the goal is.
Paul, you've been following women's basketball since before I was even born. This team defensively, kind of as Jeff has kind of hinted, is they have these lapses, especially when the shot clock starts to get down to the final few seconds. Are we just seeing a lack of discipline? Is it panic? What's going on in these final few seconds on defense where the Cards are falling apart?
I think it's kind of a thing where you've got all these new players from different types of offenses and defenses from different schools and different conferences playing different types of opponent. And now you've all kind of just thrown them all together, and you haven't had 2 or 3 years to refine and develop and build their skills to the way that you want to play. Instead, you're taking the high points and the merits of each player that has come into your program and trying to see if you can come up with some kind of temporary gravy to put over the mashed potatoes. They're all very talented. There's no doubt about that. If you take a look at the skills of each of the new players on this program, and then you take a look at some of the players that have come in, we got a very, very good, strong forward center from Turkey in the Elf, okay? And she's just a freshman. And she's already around there asserting some authority and banging around some of these ACC players like
11,
she's been in
11
the league
points
for
the other
3
day.
years. Yeah, I mean, and she doesn't back off of anybody. It's
Yeah.
because she's been in the situation where she's played in the smoke-filled halls over in Turkey where 3,000 fans from another city are screaming death threats at her because she's in there with another team. Yeah, I don't think Westmore can scare her. Okay, I don't. I don't think she's going to get intimidated by a Syracuse player who steps in front of her. As she likes to say, I just love the game. It's a very good answer. But I do take a side. I want to give a shout out to Daryl because Daryl came up with another Fred on the Fred report that we do on the website. And I'd never thought of this one, but she came up with Fred Van Fleet. And so I don't know how far you had to go back to get that one, Daryl, whether she was a personal favorite from years ago or what. But of all the Freds that I've been able to come up over the years, so congratulations on finding a relevant one. And
Relevant.
I'm glad you liked it. I wasn't sure if going the NBA route was
the
was
pressure
what we
and the
were going
onus
for.
is on you now to continue this.
Okay.
You
Just a
just
quick-
open that box of candy.
Just a quick, Google of famous Freds and see what comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and being
And big what?
A big something.
being relevant, unlike when I pull them in
Oh, okay.
and bring in
Gotcha.
something completely off topic. But yeah.
Yeah, so congratulations to Daryl on that. But
That's good.
here's the bottom line. I think you're going to see, gang, every game that this team gets closer to, obviously, 2 areas that Jeff Walls is banking a lot on, the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament. They're going to become a little more comfortable with each other out there. They're going to learn some of the nuances that, for example, Elif can do or Jada can do that they didn't maybe recognize before. I still think we have the best yet to see out of Sid Taylor, who was an incredible 3-point shooter at one time in her career and is just slowly getting back to that with us. So, it's an old trite phrase, but I think the best is yet to come.
Paul,
And-
I'm gonna piggyback off of that because that's a great shout out for Sydney Taylor. I feel like we don't say her name enough, but she has got great size. She's able to knock down the 3 and just come up with a big rebound. She's been assisting well. So thank you for bringing up her name. She definitely needs some more kudos because she had 3 threes the other night in 30 minutes. She had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Again, not going to get her in the post game room to talk about the game, but she was crucial the other night against Syracuse. So shout out Sid Taylor.
And I think one of the things too about her and some of the others that are on the squad this year for their first and only year is that they basically sat down with Jeff Walls and said, I don't think my skills are quite great enough yet to get me in the WNBA. Can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
And Walls basically just says to them, I will put you in an environment where you will be surrounded with a lot of players like yourself that are good but not great. And let's see if you all can achieve greatness together. And if you can do that, and if you can show the scouts and you can show others that, hey, in a situation where I'm surrounded by talent, I can shine. It's going to look very good for you down the road because let's face it, most of these girls do envision a career beyond college and playing basketball, whether it be either professionally or over across the seas. Uh, what a ideal learning situation for somebody to put 4 years in somewhere and then be able to play with the kind of like an all-star players their final. So I think the best is yet to come, kids.
I
The Cards
agree.
are going to go up against a team with a lot of other WNBA potential on Monday night against NC State. What are
Oof,
we
yeah.
expecting out of this one? This
I
is going to
wasn't
be a
I
tough
wasn't going to
one.
open that door, but Jared, you opened it, jump right on through and take it because yeah, it's Raleigh and it's going to be intense. Oof.
So what are we expecting? Especially it's a Monday night game, as Jeff
Uh,
mentioned earlier. This is a prime time. It's going to be on ESPN's flagship. You're playing at the NC State, Paul. I know you've been there before. Just everyone, how are
Oof.
we feeling about this game? What's going to happen Monday night?
First of all, I think you have to consider one of the major factors here, kids, is the atmosphere.
The crowd, 100%.
Mm.
Yeah, I've, as mentioned earlier, I've had the opportunity to be in it twice when the Cards have been in there. And if I were to take on another home team besides Louisville, it would surely be them
Hmm.
because of their ferocity, because of the way that they love that actual program, the way that they love Westmore, the way that they love the players that have been through there, and the fact that they've been pretty damn successful under what Westmore can do. Let's take a look at it, kids. They're not exactly down there with Boston College at the bottom of the league, okay? They're a pretty daggone talented team, and they've got a ton of talent on their roster, Jared.
I'll jump in here. I think that you just hit the nail on the head. That's what I was gonna say. Is that when the Cards come out in this atmosphere, it is going to be loud and intimidating. Olivia, was it Olivia the other night, Jared, that talked about like she's the only one that's been there, um, or was it
I think it's her and
Mara?
Russell are the only two that have
Yeah,
been there.
Olivia and Marissa are the only two on the team that have played at Raleigh in a game so far.
I think Kiki, she said it that the team is letting them know that this is not going to be like other games where we've gone to Clemson and there's 4 people in the stands. It's going to be loud from the very top. I'm looking at the attendance for the last 2 games at NC State, and amazingly, at both games in Duke and against North Carolina, so really good ACC teams. NC State was able to put 5,500 people in there for both of those. So I think it'll probably be around the same for Louisville. This has definitely become a rivalry with these teams meeting in the postseason in the ACC championship sometimes, and just giving each other all that they have, and just going back and forth with the blows on the record and trying to get the ACC titles. So this is definitely the game that everybody has had circled on their schedule. It's a Monday night. It's not the normal Sunday Thursday schedule. It's going to be on primetime TV. NC State is going to pack that house and try to walk away with a ranked victory. Um, I think that they are currently projected higher seeding in the postseason over the Cards. So the Cards have plenty to gain from a win on the road at NC State. And it might take a quarter or two to get their feet under them. It might be a last second shot kind of thing. It's going to be an insane atmosphere, and I cannot wait.
Daryl, you mentioned conference rivalries. Louisville's got a couple of these back to back with NC State Monday night, and then a very short turnaround with an early Thursday game against Notre Dame.
Oh,
Uh,
I've got chills. It's going to be
with
insane.
these ACC rivalries, how does that maybe impact what we're seeing in some of the practices and preparation with the team?
Is that back to me, or anybody else want to jump in?
Whoever wants to take it, Daryl, you can. If anyone else wants to jump in on that one,
I'd be interested to hear Daryl's take on it.
Yeah, Coach Walls talked about it when the other night in the post game, just that turnaround from Thursday night and getting ready for Monday, and then what they're going to do for Thursday. And they talked about that this team practices that with intensity and intention. They'll have a 2-hour practice today or whatever. They'll get in the gym. They will do what they got to do to get ready for Monday, and then this is just not. I think this is the kind of schedule that prepares them for the postseason because you don't get days off. So if you go into it with the mentality like I've got a game Monday, I've got a game Thursday, that you're able to prepare for your body and your mental state for what it needs to do. It's not going to be easy. Nobody said it was going to be easy, but that's not why anyone came here. No one came to Louisville for an easy path. They came here to get better. They came here to play tough teams, and this is literally what these players came to Louisville for. So I think they're excited. I think Coach Walls is excited. And then if they can get 2 wins in the same week, oh my gosh, you all, I would just be elated. But it's going to be tough.
Let's say Louisville ends up losing both these rivalry games with the Monday night one and Thursday. How's that going to factor into the rest of the season and maybe ACC standings, NCAA tournament seeding? What are we thinking on that?
I think that would be a mental blow. If they don't get 1 win, it would be a very hard pill to swallow.
I think a lot of it has to do, Jeff. I'll just talk quickly and turn it back over to you. Is that conference seeding for the tournament? If you lose a couple there, are you all of a sudden one of those 4 teams that gets a bye? Maybe not. And that conference bye is a very important thing.
Yeah. Excuse me. That is big. Obviously, you don't want to drop below that 4 seed in the conference tournament. But I think also even maybe more interestingly is when you start going into NCAA tournament, where it's not cut and dried. Going into the conference tournament, it's there's a formula, there's a set of rules and formulas that you can figure out what your seeding is going to be. Going into the NCAA tournament, now you're kind of at the whims of the committee, the selection committee, and you have to look at what do they tend to look at. And obviously, it can be different every year because it's a different set of people, and even probably the same set of people might come up with different answers each year. But one of the things that has traditionally been a consideration is last 10 games, right? If you could go through these last 10 games and get these wins, obviously that looks phenomenal on that resume when the committee's in their conference room talking this through. But you have some losses in there, and now suddenly they may be against really, really top teams, but all of a sudden you're looking at some losses in the last 10 games. Those weigh a little heavier in the consideration, typically in conference in that committee consideration. So it's definitely something to think about and be wary of. It doesn't change too much. You go in there and you play the best game you can play. But when we're talking here, trying to be kind of pseudo pundits, going, what does this mean? Those are the things we're going to be looking at.
You mentioned final 10 games of the season, especially with the selection committee. The Syracuse win the other night was the 10th game remaining on the regular season, so 9 left. A lot of tough teams. You've got NC State coming up. Notre Dame's twice on the schedule. Virginia Tech, Florida State are still on the schedule. These 9 remaining games, what do we think the Cards are going to finish with the win-loss column?
Oh, wow. That's get at your Nostradamus head and see what you can come up with there. I don't know, Jared. Let's take a look at it. Notre Dame's going to play us tough twice. They always do. It's always just a fun game against them, no matter where they're playing the game as well. I look at the final 10 games, and then I'll get my words out here and then get out of the way. I would not be surprised if we drop 3 in these final 10, kids. And if I was going to pick out 3 teams that had the potential to beat us in these final 10, I'm going to say Syracuse gets us back up there. I'm going to say the Virginia Tech gets us. And I also think that Florida State could come up and smack us as well. And then there's a 4th in there if you want to add it, and it's losing one of the 2 Notre Dame games. But I think it would be an act of God if this team went 10-0 to finish the season. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm kind of expecting about 3 losses in there, three, maybe 4. I think both Notre Dame games are potential losses. We're closely matched in rankings. One's here, one's there. I think the one up there is potentially a pretty high likelihood for a loss there. But and then this one coming Monday against NC State, that's a very real potential for one. So there's 2 right there. And like you said, Paul, at Syracuse is going to be certainly a lot tougher to beat them there than we had playing them here. So
that's the Tiger laying in wait. That's right.
Yeah, Jeff Walsh talks about you steal some wins on the road because you don't expect to get them. Whatever you can steal wins on the road are bonuses, and then you protect your house, and that's how you hope to make up a good resume. So
I'm same there with you guys. I just think that what's most important is that the Cards win at home. They're going to play tough teams. So if you can get the victories in front of your home crowd, I think the better that the longer the season goes on, Notre Dame is going to get better. So that one at their place is just going to be. I don't like to say that the Cards are going to lose, but I honestly wouldn't say that if they do lose it another game or 2 in the regular season, that it would be a bad thing. I think sometimes when you get some losses like that North Carolina loss, that was I don't say humbling. Humbling would be against a team that you're not supposed to lose to.
Maybe a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah, you got outplayed entirely against North Carolina. And by the time that they realized it, it was out of time. They had no time to come back and get that victory. So I guarantee that was one that they learned a lot of things about themselves. So you get some losses here and there, you take your licks, and you get better, and you find ways to win after that.
Well, this next few stretch, we'll certainly see what the Cards are made of, and it will be great tournament prep. We're already through the pretty much here at the top of the hour. I've gone a full hour for the show already. Also glad to have Paul back. So I think we're kind of at the point of the show we want to get final thoughts from everyone. So we'll take it around. Paul, glad to have you back. We'd love to hear your final thoughts.
Just so glad, as I mentioned earlier in the show, to be back and being able to do this. What a whirlwind this last month has been. But I'm very, very happy in the fact that I'm able to be talking with you all today. And I want to extend a special thank you to the ACC schedule makers. And why would I want to do that? Is my brain taking a vacation here? What's going on? No, because somehow in the scheme of things, we are playing 4 out of our 5 final regular season games at home. How huge is that when you're in a conference battle?
Yeah.
To know that you're going to be in front of 7,000-8,000 screaming Cardinal fans for you to play opponents like Virginia Tech, Virginia, Florida State, and Notre Dame against. So if I had a box of chocolates and an address, I'd send it to the ACC schedule makers. Thank you for that nice Valentine's Day gift early.
I thought you were going to thank them for putting 2 big games close back to back, a Monday night and an early Thursday game.
No, that's fine too. That's all part of it. I guess I'll probably have to, throw a $20 bill in there too for him. Then Jared, okay.
Well, Jeff, we'd love to get your final thoughts.
Yeah, 2 quick ones. We've talked about it before, I've said it before, but NCAA, ACC, fix women's officiating. It is broken. It is impairing the growth of the game. Fix it. It needs to be better than it is. It's terrible. So I've said that before. Nothing new, but after the Syracuse game, it needs to be reset. The other one, I will be out next week for the podcast. I am going to Atlanta, do a road trip, take a couple of days off work. I'm gonna watch. Go down there. I'm gonna catch Friday night the Pro Volleyball Federation game between Atlanta and Grand Rapids, which of course has Tori Dolpher Stringer playing for Atlanta, and Claire Chaussee playing for Grand Rapids. So I'm going to take the opportunity that I can go watch a game and see both of them playing at the same time. So,
Daryl, final thoughts with you.
My turn. Again, just really happy and excited and surprised to hear Polly on here this morning. So glad to have you back, Polly. Hope the cards are not making it too stressful for you, so you can tune in and get the win or watch some wins from our squad. And just want you to know that we're keeping the seats warm for you, and we can't wait till you get back out there and yell at some cheerleaders. I really miss that.
I thank you for that, Daryl, and I do miss it. And it is one of the things that I'm looking forward to is walking down that little hallway before I'm out there on the floor again and headed toward my seat again.
Well, it's there waiting for you.
My final thoughts kind of gonna have to mimic what Daryl said there, Paul. We're glad to have you back, and
absolutely.
Hopefully we'll catch you at a home game again before the end of the season. I know NC State won on Monday is a big game, but as someone who's seen this Louisville Notre Dame rivalry for many years, I can't wait to see the Cards kick some butt on Thursday night back at the Yum Center.
Cheers to that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely so.
So thanks once again. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Plenty in store coming up this week. So tune into the site each day and then join us again next Saturday morning as we're back with you again.
Go Cards.